Let's start with an uncomfortable truth. The more you try to please a woman, the less she values you. Yeah, I said it. The harder you chase her, the more she runs. The more you give, the less she feels she has to earn. And before you know it, you've turned yourself into the emotional equivalent of background noise. Always there, always available, and completely forgettable. Modern men have been brainwashed to believe that being the nice guy is the key to a woman's heart. Be kind, be attentive, be available, and she'll love you back. Right? Wrong. What she ends up loving is the challenge of a man who doesn't need her validation. A man who's calm, confident, and slightly unpredictable. A man who, through his silence and composure, reminds her that his attention is not something to be taken for granted. This is where Stoicism comes in. Stoicism isn't about being cold or emotionless, it's about self-control. It's about mastering your reactions, your impulses, and your need for approval. When you stop being overly good to win someone's affection, what you're really doing is reclaiming your power. You're showing that your peace doesn't depend on how she feels about you. And that's exactly what drives her crazy. See, women are not attracted to perfection. They're drawn to emotional balance, to a man who feels deeply but isn't ruled by those feelings. When you stop bending over backward to keep her interested, something fascinating happens. She becomes curious. She starts to wonder why you're not like every other guy trying to impress her. That curiosity turns into respect. And respect often turns into attraction. Being too good sounds noble, but in relationships, it often comes from fear. The fear of losing her, the fear of not being enough. But Stoicism teaches that what's meant for you cannot be lost by being authentic. You don't need to manipulate her, play games, or pretend to be detached. You just need to hold your frame, calmly, firmly, and without apology. The man who isn't desperate for a woman's approval is dangerous, not because he's cruel, but because he's free. And freedom to a woman is magnetic. It's mysterious. It's rare. So in this video, we're going to break down exactly why being too good kills attraction, how Stoicism flips the dynamic completely, and how to become the kind of man who doesn't chase, but leads. Because when you stop trying to be her everything, you become something she can't get out of her mind. 1. Being too nice is just fear in disguise. 2. The more you chase, the less she feels. 3. Silence speaks louder than sweet words. 4. Control yourself and you control her desire. 1. Being too nice is just fear in disguise. Most men think being nice is a strength, that kindness will make a woman fall for them. But here's the truth. Most of the time, that niceness isn't strength at all. It's fear. Fear of rejection. Fear of being alone. Fear of not being liked. When you're constantly trying to be nice, you're not really being honest. You're being strategic. You're hoping your kindness will buy her affection. But real attraction doesn't work that way. Women can sense when your actions come from confidence and when they come from insecurity. And nothing kills desire faster than a man who hides his fear behind fake generosity. A stoic man doesn't need to prove his worth by pleasing others. He understands that his value doesn't depend on how someone reacts to him. He helps others because he chooses to, not because he's desperate for approval. That's the difference between true kindness and weak niceness. Intent. When you're too good, you start tolerating things you shouldn't. You avoid setting boundaries because you don't want to upset her. You laugh at jokes that bother you. You agree to things that make you uncomfortable. You start shrinking yourself just to fit her expectations. And the more you do it, the less she respects you. Respect and attraction are built on strength. Emotional, mental, and spiritual strength. Stoicism teaches you to lead with calm certainty, not with desperate kindness. When you stop giving out your energy like candy, you start to see who actually values you and who just enjoys using you. Let's make this real. Imagine a man who's been texting a woman every morning. Good morning, beautiful. Hope you slept well. Have a great day. She never texts first, rarely replies, but he keeps going. He tells himself he's just being kind. But deep down, he's terrified that if he stops, she'll forget about him. That's not kindness. That's fear. Now imagine one day he stops. No messages, no chasing. He focuses on himself, his work, his peace. A week later, she texts him first. "Hey, where have you been?" Suddenly, she notices his absence. Why? Because he stopped being predictable. He stopped giving from fear. When you stop being too good, you give her space to feel your absence. You stop rewarding her indifference with attention. That's when curiosity and attraction begin. So remember this. True goodness doesn't come from fear, it comes from strength. You can be kind and still have boundaries. You can care and still say no. You can love without losing yourself. The man who learns that difference becomes unshakable. And ironically, when you stop being so nice, that's when people finally start respecting and wanting in you more. 2. The more you chase, the less she feels. Every man has felt it, that urge to chase after a woman who's slipping away. You text her more, call her more, try harder to prove you're the one she should want. But the harder you chase, the colder she becomes. It's like quicksand. The more you move, the deeper you sink. Here's the truth. Chasing kills attraction. When you chase, you flip the natural dynamic between masculine and feminine energy. The man becomes the pursuer, the one seeking validation, and the woman becomes the prize. But real masculine energy doesn't beg to be noticed. It draws attention through presence. Stoicism teaches that emotions are powerful, but they must be mastered. A stoic man doesn't act out of impulse or panic. He doesn't chase what's running away because he knows anything that must be chased is already trying to escape. Instead, he focuses on what he can control: his attitude, his composure, and his purpose. Chasing is emotional neediness in disguise. You're not chasing her. You're chasing the feeling of being wanted. You're chasing validation, not connection. And women can feel that energy instantly. It doesn't make them feel safe or drawn in. It makes them lose respect. Attraction works like this. When she feels your calm confidence, she leans in. When she senses your desperation, she pulls away. It's an emotional balance. When you chase, you're trying to force a connection that should come naturally. Now imagine this. A man goes out with a woman, and they have a great time. The next day, he sends 3 long texts asking if she's thinking about him. She replies hours later with one-word answers. He starts to panic. He doubles his efforts, sending more messages, compliments, and little jokes to win her attention again. But every message he sends pushes her further away. She doesn't feel excitement anymore. She feels pressure. Then one day, he stops. No more texts, no more trying to get a reaction. He focuses on his life again, his workouts, his goals, his peace, and what happens? A few days later, her curiosity wakes up. She checks his social media. She wonders why he disappeared. She texts him just to check in. Why? Because emotional space creates emotional pull. Desire needs distance to breathe. When you chase, you remove that space, and you kill her curiosity. But when you step back, when you trust your value enough to stop chasing, she starts to feel your absence, and that absence is what makes her feel something again. A stoic man doesn't chase because he understands his worth isn't up for negotiation. He knows that if someone truly values him, they'll meet him halfway. So stop running after her. Slow down, stand still, let your silence speak for you. Because the moment you stop chasing her, that's when she starts to feel you again. 3. Silence speaks louder than sweet words. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. In a world where everyone is talking, texting, explaining, and oversharing, Silence has become rare, and that's exactly why it's so powerful. Most men think the way to win a woman's attention is through words. They think if they say the right thing, send the perfect message, or express their feelings enough times, she'll finally understand their worth. But here's the truth. The more you talk, the less impact your words have. Silence shows strength. It shows control. It shows you don't need to fill every empty space with noise just to feel secure. A Stoic man knows that calm stillness is more intimidating than 1,000 words. It communicates confidence, it communicates mystery, and most importantly, it communicates self-respect. Think about it. When you stop over-explaining yourself, when you stop trying to convince someone of your value, you send a powerful message. I know who I am, and I don't need your approval to confirm it. That's what silence does. It forces others to sit with the weight of your absence. Men who constantly talk, apologize, or try to fix things with words usually do it out of fear. Fear that silence means losing her. Fear that not explaining yourself means she'll misunderstand you. But Stoicism teaches the opposite. That silence is not weakness, it's discipline. It's knowing that peace is louder than noise. Silence also creates tension, the good kind. It gives space for curiosity to grow. It makes her think. It makes her wonder what's going on in your mind. It pulls her toward you instead of pushing her away with words she's already tired of hearing. You don't have to explain every action, justify every emotion, or respond to every message immediately. That urge to always respond, to always explain, comes from insecurity. But when you practice silence, you learn to be comfortable in your own stillness. You stop reacting to everything around you, and that's when you gain real power. When you say less, everything you do say starts to matter more. Your words gain weight. Your actions stand out. You stop being another predictable voice in her inbox and start being someone who commands respect without demanding it. And here's the thing. Silence doesn't just affect her. It changes you. It gives you clarity. It protects your energy. It reminds you that not every emotion needs to be expressed, not every situation needs to be fixed, and not every person deserves access to your peace. A Stoic man isn't cold or distant. He's selective. He chooses when to speak and when to stay silent, because he understands that silence is not emptiness. It's presence. It's awareness. It's power. So stop talking so much. Stop explaining yourself to people who don't listen. Let your silence do the work. Because sometimes the quietest man in the room is the one everyone feels the most. 4. Control yourself and you control her desire. Most men lose women not because they're unattractive, but because they can't control themselves. They can't control their emotions, their impulses, or their need for validation. The moment a woman pulls away, they panic. They chase, they overthink, they beg for attention. And in that weakness, they lose all the respect she once had for them. Here's a hard truth. Women aren't turned off by your looks or your kindness. They're turned off by your lack of control. When you let your emotions lead you, you become unpredictable in the worst way. You get angry too fast, you text too much, you react to every little thing she does. That's not passion, that's chaos. And no woman feels safe or attracted to chaos. A Stoic man learns to master himself before he tries to master any situation. He understands that desire grows in the space between control and expression. When you can feel attraction, temptation, and frustration and still stay calm, you become powerful. You're not suppressing your feelings, you're mastering them. That's what real masculinity looks like. Too many men today confuse emotional expression with emotional control. They think being real means reacting to everything. But true strength is being able to feel deeply without falling apart. It's keeping your composure when everything inside you wants to explode. That's what separates a boy from a man. And here's where the criticism comes in. Most men today have gone soft. They've traded discipline for comfort, attention for purpose, and self-respect for validation. They think they're being romantic, but really they're being reactive. They've forgotten what it means to hold their frame, to stay grounded no matter what she does or says. Wake up. The man who can't control himself will always be controlled by others, by her moods, her attention, her approval. But the man who controls himself controls the entire dynamic. He decides how to respond, when to speak, and when to walk away. That kind of control doesn't just attract women, it earns their respect. So stop letting emotions drive you. Breathe, think, lead. Because when you master yourself, you don't just control her desire, you command it. Let's be honest, brother. Most men today are no longer men. They're emotional slaves dressed like gentlemen. They think love means surrendering their power, their discipline, and their sense of self. But that's not love. That's dependency. And dependency kills attraction faster than anything else. Here's the controversial truth most people don't want to admit. The moment a woman knows she can control your emotions, she stops desiring you. Read that again. It's not your looks, your money, or your words that lose her. It's the moment she realizes she owns your reactions. Because once she can control your mood, she no longer feels your strength. And women, whether they admit it or not, crave the energy of a man who cannot be broken by them. Stoicism isn't about ignoring love or rejecting connection. It's about keeping your center no matter what happens around you. It's the art of being still in a storm. When you control yourself, you don't just attract women, you attract peace, respect, and purpose. And that's the kind of energy no one can fake. So let this be your reminder. Stop overgiving, stop chasing, stop explaining. Step back into your power. Be the calm in a world full of noise. Speak less, move with intention. Let your silence and composure do the talking. Because a man who doesn't beg to be loved is the man everyone ends up loving. If you've ever been in that position, chasing, overthinking, losing sleep over someone who didn't value you, you're not alone. Every man watching this has felt that pain. I've been there too. But the moment you decide to stop reacting and start leading yourself, everything changes. Women notice, people respect you, and most importantly, you respect yourself again. I want you to drop a comment below. Tell me your story, your wins, your mistakes, the lessons you've learned about control, silence, and walking away. I read every single comment, and I'll reach out to some of you personally to help you through it. Because this channel isn't just about stoicism. It's about building stronger men. Men who think clearly, live freely, and never lose themselves in the process of loving someone else. So here's the challenge. This week, don't chase. Don't explain. Don't react. Just observe. Hold your frame. Watch how people's behavior starts to shift when your energy no longer revolves around them. That's the power of control. Quiet, steady, unshakable. And remember this final truth. Maybe the most controversial of all. You don't win a woman's heart by loving her the most. You win it by needing her the least. Think about that. Now go live it.